Hi, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whenever you look at this recording. We're from IBN Immigration Solutions, and we assist clients, corporates, as well as private individuals with the immigration into South Africa, as well as a wide range of other African countries. And we've been asked to shed some light on the current South African immigration regulations that are in place during the COVID times. All right, Andreas is our CEO. He is an attorney by profession from Germany, been living in South Africa for nearly 20 years now. And I am based in Johannesburg. I am originally from the Netherlands, and I've been with the company for the past 6 years. Great, so I will ask a couple of questions and then Andreas will answer. So maybe first of all, Andreas, could you give maybe a little bit of a kind of brief overview of the current regulations around international travel to and from South Africa?
Okay, so thanks, Hans, and welcome everybody. Yes, we hope you find the format entertaining and we try to be to the point. Let me give a brief overview. Okay, so how do I structure this? All right, so number one, if you are a holder of a long-term residence visa, so work visa, retirement visa, spousal visa, you can come back to South Africa without any pre-clearance or extra administrative effort. You of course have to meet the medical requirements of the PCR test, but I think that's clear. All right, so these people can come in, right? Permanent residence holders anyway, citizens, that's all clear. Now the next question is obviously, am I a business traveler? So somebody who wants to come for a business meeting, correct? So if you are from a low-risk country, and we will come to the list, I think, a bit later, then you can come, okay? Then the next question is, do you need a visa on arrival? Or actually, do you need to apply for a visa beforehand? So if you're an Indian businessman and you want to visit your branch in Johannesburg, you would have to apply for a visa because you're visa restricted. If you are a Danish businessman and want to do the same, then you don't have to do that, okay? You're a business traveler, you're from a low-risk country because Denmark is a low-risk country according to the most recent list. You fly to Johannesburg or Cape Town and you will be issued with your visa on entry, okay? Because Home Affairs has reinstated certain countries' entry visas on entry. So that's clear, so that's business traveler, okay? If you're a business traveler now from India or Germany to make it, or even the Netherlands, Hans, I mean, they're in the same list, right? Then you will need to apply for pre-clearance, okay? That pre-clearance takes about 2 weeks. They're working on it. I'm coming to that a bit later, but you need to give yourself enough time. Now, very important, an 11.2, which is a short-term work visa, is deemed to be business traveler. So short-term, so 11.2 people who want to apply for 11.2, although that's a visa application, would need also the pre-clearance. So there is some uncertainty around that. Look, I mean, usually they just apply at the mission and then they get it and then they can come. Which leaves us with the last group, the tourists, right? So you want to spend your holiday in South Africa. If you're from a low-risk country, please come, and the normal visa entry requirements apply. If you're a national from one of the 22 countries on the list, then this rule does not apply to you. You cannot just come and jump into a plane and come to South Africa, okay? There are, however, some exceptions, okay? If Home Affairs has issued a press statement that if you would like to stay for more than 90 days, and ideally, and they didn't say you must, they said often these people own properties, but you know, it's definitely if you own a property and you want to come for more than 90 days, then it's very clear that as a tourist you can even then come to South Africa. So that's the good news, and you don't need a pre-clearance. Okay, the second question is always, do you need a pre-clearance? Yes or no? You don't need a pre-clearance. So long-term visitors over 90 days from a high-risk country, if you have a property, you can come to South Africa without pre-clearance. But there is some uncertainty around the pre-clearance. So if you have a lot of time, maybe apply for it. If you get it, great. If you don't, just enter. If you're a tourist from a high-risk country who comes for 3 weeks and you are from Germany or Netherlands or France and Spain, you cannot come. And that's the only group of people who can't come. So mass tourism is not possible, but specific tourism is possible. Now, Hans, you asked me for a brief overview. I know I talked now way too long again, but that's my brief overview to your question.
Thanks, Andreas. No, I think it's very clear to everybody. Thanks for your comprehensive answer. You already touched on it very briefly. You said, look, there's a list, 22 countries that have been declared as high risk. Can you touch a little bit more on that? Where does this list come from and how often does it get published?
Okay, without using too much time this time, but it's always so funny. So, I mean, we all knew, right? We get this list, and on the 1st of October, people can come. So when the Home published that initial list, I think on the evening of the last day before the 1st of October, the 30th of September, I think they issued the list with 59 countries. Germany was not on there, so my brother was already, yay, coming. But subsequently, obviously, Home Affairs has reworked that list, and the minister has indicated they're going to work on this list every 2 weeks. They're going to revisit this list every 2 weeks. The second version is the sorted version, the 22 countries. They removed a lot of countries which didn't make sense, and they added Germany, which, with all due respect, does make sense if you look at the numbers. So, with credit to Home Affairs, I think the current list recognizes the current infection rates. So, who's on there? Well, it's Spain, it's France, it's the whole of kind of Europe, but not Scandinavia. It's the UK, the US. It's India and a couple of others. Who's not on there? Switzerland, for instance, I think is not on there. And Italy at the moment is also not on there. But obviously, every 2 weeks this is revisited. But the current list really reflects the high infection countries. Okay.
Yeah, and I think just to add, maybe the whole of Africa is cleared, huh?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, absolutely. So there's not one African country on there, which is great for the inner African trade and business travel. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Look, next question. I think you sort of partially answered it already, but I'm going to ask it nevertheless. So what happens to foreigners who are already in the country, for instance, on a work assignment? Do they run the risk of becoming illegal in case their visa expires?
So you asking now about foreigners who are in the country, correct?
Yes.
So So anybody who is in the country from high-risk countries and has a valid long-term visa, obviously they're not affected. Okay, so these people can actually now travel back to Spain and come back, as long as they obviously meet the medical requirements. Okay, so their visas are not affected. So that's a thing of the past. For tourists, obviously, who might be still here, I don't know who's still here after 9 months. They I think tolerated now until the end of January, I believe. There was a deadline first end of October, and I think they moved it now probably 3 months to the end of January. And they tolerate it, so they can stay. They don't become illegal until then. Does that answer the question?
I think it does. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. All right. And what happens to foreign workers who had valid work visas, but visas expired during the lockdown? Are they allowed to work still, and can they extend their visas currently in country?
Yeah, so you asked the right questions. I wish I would have all the answers, but so I will try to answer to my best knowledge. And immigration is not an exact science, at least not here in Africa, but actually nowhere in the world, if I talk to my international colleagues. So anyway, so answering your question, what we do know is the following. There was a clear instruction from Home Affairs that if your visa expired during the work visa, expiring during the lockdown, but you applied in March before the severe lockdown for an extension, that extension just didn't come out because nobody was working, you were allowed to continue working. So that was a clear rule. Okay, but now we have obviously October. And VFS opened already 2 months ago. So, and we know that Home Affairs worked a lot in the background to process all pending applications. So with all the respect, most likely your pending application should be ready for collection or has been collected already. Okay. So that leads me to the second phase or second case scenario. If your work visa now expires in September or expired in September, then there is uncertainty around that. So you know, and at the moment, at least to my best knowledge, you're not allowed to continue working without the work visa, even if you have submitted an extension, because the fact that you applied for an extension doesn't give you a right to, you know, to work. So we do still have a problem, and especially also, I think the work visas which are expiring now, maybe in November or December. Our advice to these clients is very clearly, please apply for an extension early, because VFS is open, get it in. It is clear that you're tolerated in the country. That's not the question, but obviously the question if you're allowed to work or not. Yeah, so please apply for the extension as early as possible.
Okay, clear. Yeah. Thank you. All right, travelers coming into the country from high-risk countries, is there any requirement still around quarantine? Do they have to self-quarantine, or do they have to go to a facility for 10 days? Where are we with that?
Luckily, that's an easy question. I can answer this one better. The answer is no. Okay. So basically how it works is you land in airport, Cape Town International Airport. They measure your temperature with the radar thing. They ask you a couple of questions. If they ask the questions, they want to see the PCR test, right? PCR test cannot be older than 72 hours before departure, not arrival, which obviously if you come from the United States might make a big difference. Right? Yeah. But bottom line is that's the only requirement. When all this is negative, then obviously you have no symptoms, so there's a basic screening. Then you can continue and do your holiday. So there is no quarantine, no self-quarantine, nothing like that.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think there's some rumors going around, I mean, for the expats among us who are in the country on intra-company transfer work visas. I think we all know that's you know, the practice has been that after 4 years, you have to go back to your country, and in principle, it's not extendable. Yeah, I mean, there are rumors now, I think, that that visas can be extended in country. Can you maybe clarify that?
Yeah, there are rumors, but that's all I know, because I haven't seen anything in writing. I haven't seen any direction or directive, you know, whatever legislation. Yeah, rumors, yes, but nothing concrete. And I don't like rumors because once I see it in writing, we can advise on it. At the moment, it makes no sense to advise on anything because, look, there's also a rumor that we get a new critical skills list, and we know they're working on it, but we don't know when. So unfortunately, you know, we can only comment on it when we really see it in black and white, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And some of our clients, they comment that they really struggle getting hold of South Africa abroad. Open. Lots of people say they cannot get hold of anybody. Can you submit at the moment your visas?
So the South African missions are supposed to be open, not just in low-risk countries, but also in high-risk countries. They are supposed to accept long-term visa applications, even from high-risk countries, okay? Now, we had countless, I mean, really countless of clients indicating that that's not the case, right? I mean, the mission is closed, they get rejected, they want a pre-clearance in order to be able to submit their long-term visa. So with all the respect, and I'm not a great fan of Home Affairs bashing because I think it achieves nothing, and anyway, I think they're underfunded. But bottom line is, I think, I mean, we as IBN flagged this already a couple of times. So have lots of other immigration companies. Obviously, we're not the only ones. Yes, I think Home Affairs need to watch a little bit their missions and please instruct them appropriately. And to maybe read at least the press statements of the minister, because they're pretty clear. I mean, if you read the press statements, I mean, you can get it. So the answer is they're supposed to open. They're supposed to be open for receiving your application for long-term residence visas, even if you're a citizen and a national from a high-risk country. Low risk, obviously, we don't have a problem. These missions, we only see problems really in particular at the moment. I think France is a big one. We see some problems in the Hague and the Netherlands. Yeah, I think that's the ones which come to mind. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I've also heard about those two. Okay, yeah, then a couple of very specific questions that that we received from clients over the last, I would say, 2 weeks or so. So this one lady, yeah, she has been working in the country. Her work visa is coming to an end on the 31st of December. And yeah, I think her work assignment ends a few days before, and she really would like to have a little bit of time to wrap up her life here, maybe do a little bit of travel. So her question is, yeah, does she fall under the concession? So the automatic concession, yeah, to be allowed to remain in the country till the 31st of January.
So her work visa expires 31st of December and she wants to stay a month longer.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, I can give you a legal answer and I can give you a practical one. Okay, so the legal one, and you know, some spectators might be interested in the legal one, I don't know. The concession was strictly speaking only the concession of that staying, and you know, first until August or July, then October, now January, was strictly speaking only for visa which expired during lockdown, right? I mean, that's what it said. Now we don't have lockdown anymore, but we still have a state of disaster. I mean, we're on level 1. Yeah, sure, it's nice, but we're still in a state of disaster. So strictly speaking, one could argue that this lady who's expiring in December, so therefore it's outside lockdown, and it's now in a state of disaster, might not fall into it, right? That could be one interpretation, and there is, again, I think, a little bit of uncertainty around this. In practice, I think she can stay until the 31st of January and yeah, do it. That's what I think. But again, it would obviously help, you know, if we would have slightly clearer, and not just press statements which are published on the Home Affairs website, but something really properly worded in case of a direction and clear, then it would take away the guessing. But I have a feeling that the intention, obviously, of Home Affairs was to say, guys, if you were here in the country and you couldn't leave, you tolerated until the 31st of January, right? And that was a good intention. So I think we need to work with the intention without coming now with funny words in terms of the legislation, although the lawyer obviously would say, are you nuts? I mean, it's legislation, so you need to do that. But anyway, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, no, I think you did. Okay, yeah, another client approached me, a German, German national, married to a South African citizen. They both lived for many years in Germany. And yeah, the mother of the German spouse, of the South African spouse, has fallen ill, 85-year-old mother. So they would like to go and visit South Africa. Is she allowed to enter South Africa? So the German national, is she allowed to enter South Africa on a tourist visa?
So the answer is no. I mean, no, because high-risk country, under 90 days, spontaneous visit, that falls under mass tourism kind of, so no. However, there is a special other email, basically, where you can apply for special clearance or pre-clearance. So my advice to this person would be, please apply for the pre-clearance because clearly you have very strong reasons to come to South Africa, and you probably get this permission granted. But then again, it's a discretionary decision, and the decision obviously needs to be made first.
Yeah. All right, final question, and I think you already kind of touched on it, but there seems to be unclarity. So the holders of long-term work visas are allowed back into South Africa, right? They don't need to do anything. They don't have to obtain any form of clearance. And the short-term work visa applicants, so 11-2 visas and a 90-day work visa, they need to get a clearance upfront and then go to the South African mission in their country or nearest and apply for that visa, right?
So this is how, if one really takes the wording of all the press statements, and obviously we have raised this question to some Home Affairs officials, and we got answers back that the 90 days considered a short term, not a long term, and therefore I agree that would require they need to pre-clearance and then apply at the mission for the 11-2.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think that takes me to the end of my questions. I think one element that nobody ever really thinks about, but which is obviously quite important, is also to consider the travel regulations in the other country where you either originate from or where you're going to travel to, because those might be quite different or quite restrictive compared to the South African side. So I don't know if you can maybe touch on that a little bit.
Well, look, I mean, it's very difficult to do that now because obviously we don't know who's watching, and I know that. I mean, one of our dear colleagues, Christine, she left South Africa 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, to Germany, and there it depends literally on the state where she lives, kind of quarantine requirements she has or not. So it's very difficult to give an answer on that because obviously it depends totally on the country where you return to. But yeah, I mean, look, at the moment, South Africa is not a high-risk country in international terms if you look at our numbers. But I mean, I can't really get an answer to that because it's too difficult, really.
No, but I think the advice should be keep it on your radar. So research the regulations and requirements on the other side as well. And if you have any further questions regarding South Africa immigration, please feel free to contact us. Andreas is available for any questions. I'm available. We would love to help you. Okay, cool. Thank you very much for watching. We hope you have a good day, and we will publish soon again. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Bye.